Work, 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 work. It's the WACCast podcast. Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack to me.
Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack to me.
It's the WACCast podcast. Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack to me.
Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack to me. Whoa, 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 ho, 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 ho. What is up, whack people? Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in, getting more of this whack wisdom this week. I am, of course, hoping that everybody has an amazing day as always. I am your honorable host, OCT Octavius Haye, and this is the WACCast podcast that you're listening to. What's up, everybody? So without further ado, let's talk whack to 'em. And of course, we gotta start back what we started with last week. Kim and Kanye, Kanye and Kim, the West family. They're going through some drama, y'all. I mean, it was already talking about how Kanye did not want Kim to be put north, or any of their children for that matter, on social media. He didn't agree with it as a parent. And it has blown over to a whole thing. Now Kanye saying Kim thought that, or Kim's accusing him of putting a hit out on her, and just he's posting all this stuff, putting her family's agreeing with him and wanting Yeezys, and Kim's coming out saying she's the main provider, so she makes the decisions. It's been a hot mess, man. What could have been just a nice little amicable divorce has now become a hot mess. Now, if you remember last episode, I was saying that Kanye was kind of doing this to get back at Kim. I still do believe it to some degree. He wants her back. She don't want him back. I do believe that. I mean, there's even reports that he won't even help with finalizing the separation. Saying instead of saying that they're married, they're separated. He won't sign off on that, which is prolonging the divorce. So I don't think he wants a divorce. I do think he wants his family back. But two things can be true at the same time. He can want his family back and doesn't want a divorce. And he can even possibly be using this, hyping this up at a bigger level, or talking about this in public, something that's being private, to get back at Kim. And he can also honestly just not want his kids on social media, which he has said. Now, there was some posts of some allegedly were supposed to be some comments being made towards Northwest, pretty much asking her for money. I think even Cardi B, maybe because of this, went ahead and started looking at what's on her daughter's page, Culture, and there was a lot of mean comments. And so she, I think she made it private or something like that. And I gotta agree. I tend to agree. When you're that young of an age, what you need to be on social media for? World's a scary, ugly, mean place. I do believe in sheltering your kids. My mother sheltered me, even though we grew up in the hood. I had some sense of sheltering with my mom. It wasn't until I started getting older, like middle school, and kids was exposing me to more stuff that I became more aware of my surroundings. But as far as my mom, she never brought that in. I never thought of us as being hood, or not hood, but in the hood. We just was a regular family. We would go out to different places. Like, we would go to fun, nice places, nice restaurants and stuff like that. But I say all that to say, I totally understand and agree with sheltering your child. I really do. And I think that Kanye is right in that regard. But I also think Kim, she's saying she's monitoring it, and North doesn't have access to it. She has access to it, and she's arguing her point of view. I get where Kim's coming from, but I do tend to think that, like I said last episode, when you're co-parenting, sometimes you gotta, it's give and take. It's both of your children. And if he doesn't like this, and it's not hurting her, it's not hurting the child, I get you wanting to be creative, but there's more ways. There's more than one way to be creative. And if Kanye's just not liking this right now, then maybe you just stop it for right now. And when she gets a couple years older, maybe teenage age, you revisit it and you talk to Kanye. And y'all have a conversation. Maybe she's tried that and he's just not willing to talk because he just wants to go on rants. Kanye, he'll have his moment where he goes on his rants. He gets his little thing and he takes off with it. And that's possibly what we're seeing right now from Kanye. I don't know. But I do know one thing, like I said last week, this is really messed up for all of their children, that this has to be so ugly. And Kanye is foul. He asked, I don't know who that dude was, he asked somebody for Kim's number and gave it to him. And then he gonna add him and post it and thank him. Like, bro, don't put me on blast. Don't be snitching on me, bro. Why is you snitching on me, Kanye? Yeah, Kanye was definitely snitching on people helping him out. So funny, the Kim's family like, is it safe to get the Yeezys from this app? Like, give your bike. Everybody, they trying to get their free pair of Yeezys through all this. They like, I agree with you, Kanye. Where them Yeezys at? Oh man, this is a hot mess. It's crazy. It's a mess as most things are from Kanye. I do find it funny how many people who will be mad at Kanye and any other time, like he gets on these like righteous verdicts and everybody's like, oh, he's so right, you know, but then he'll say some other stuff you don't like or he'll like fall back on something and nobody ever talks about that. I don't know, it's weird. Kanye has this weird effect where he can just ramble like a crazy person and people think, oh yeah, he's speaking truth, but what you don't realize is he's speaking truth for himself. And I do agree with a lot of his sentiments, but it's never for people, it's for what Kanye, you're not doing this for me, it's not fair. I think he's a very selfish person. I think he's a loving, caring person too, but I do think a lot of what frustrates him is only about himself. He's not really frustrated about issues in the black community as a whole, unless it relates to him. And then he brings up, I think Charlamagne said it best, like he only brings up his black card whenever it's something's going on with him that he's mad about. So I think that's something that we should all be looking at and thinking about as a whole. But yeah, like I said last week, hopefully they can work this out because they got kids and this has just become a hot, messy topic. It was funny, somebody said his All the Lights verse, that became a reality, but he can't see his daughter and the family hates him and all that stuff. And he even said he wanted back in that song too. So yeah, it's just getting hot and crazy. I'm not 100% on Kanye's side. I had somebody on Instagram say like he's being a good father, and I do see that's the narrative that he's running with. And he was like, my mama kept me away from my dad, and that does happen. And like I said, I can see that possibly being part of it. But I don't know, man. With Kanye, it always seems like there's this selfish ulterior motive with him. I just can't just believe him face value. I always think, what do you want from this, Kanye? What are you gaining from this? You know, I know you can say, oh, it's kids. Yeah, but I think he wants Kim. I really do. I think that if Kim was with him, this wouldn't be an issue. He wouldn't be blowing up like this. You know, I just think he wants Kim back. He thought he didn't want it back, and he realized he do want it. Even though he with this chick, he giving all these gifts and stuff. I wonder how she feel about it, because dang, why you keep like, you know, pressing your ex? I mean, I guess it's about the kids, so I guess that's what she's okay with. But then she also gotta look, it's like, dang, he putting all their problems on blast. Is that somebody you want to be with? But he bought her and her friends, like, I don't know, some expensive bags. So maybe she okay with it. You know, some of them be like, it's fair trade. I get taken care of. You can be a little crazy. You know, I think she's an up and coming actress, so she's not like at that big level yet. So she's like, all right, do what you gotta do, Kanye. So I feel on that. Yeah, though, once again, get it together for the kids. Speaking of getting it together, man, seems like Joe Rogan's got to get it together. He's got a lot of enemies coming for him. A lot of people do not like Joe Rogan. He is, I guess, quote-unquote, independent media. And it seems like mainstream media is really coming at him. Now, that doesn't mean I agree with everything Joe Rogan does or says. I probably disagree with him more. I think the people that he has on his platform, a lot of grifters who spread misinformation and don't really, and facts, you know, go against that. A lot of his views, he'll talk about things he doesn't like. He also talks about things he does that I do agree on, that he is right about. That a lot of people don't want to bring up, either because they don't agree with that and they trying to paint him as, they don't agree with it because they want him to be on their side. Or they don't point it out because they want to be on their side, and they want their fans to keep thinking that he's one of them, or they don't agree because he's not on their side and they're trying to make him look worse than what he is. That's what I think happens a lot of times with Joe. As far as why people only talk about, I guess, the right wing talking points, they never bring up a lot of his lefty views. But one of the things I do like about Joe Rogan is that he at least admits he doesn't know everything, and if he's wrong about something, he's not above coming out and saying, hey, you know what, I was wrong about that, that's not what it was, you know, yada. That's just who he is. So I do like that about him. But you know, once you decide you want to do podcasts and give your opinion for a living, a lot of things gonna come back at you. And you recorded a lot of these things, even if you delete episodes, somebody's got that clip somewhere and they ready to put it out on you. But even before we get to the controversy with him and the N-word, you know, it started out bad at first because everybody was mad at him. They saying he's spreading misinformation about COVID, and that's causing problems, and people listening to him and the guests he has on there are wrong, or they're like in a minority of people. And even I think it was like music artist Neil Young was like, he's taking his music off of Spotify in protest. And that brought a lot of people to think, well, should you do that? Is that a smart thing to do? Should we be censoring people for having differences of opinions or talking to people with differences of opinion? I'll touch on that first. No, I don't think you should censor anybody for a difference of opinion, or for even if they're saying something that they want you to believe in that may be factually not true. I think in America that's a very slippery slope, because once we start, oh, you can't say this or can't say that, you know, where does it end? How far will they go? That could be the door to take away more of your freedoms. I remember the Patriot Act after 9/11 when they had us so scared about terrorism and using America first and talking all this stuff and all this patriotic talk to get you to give away your rights, and NSA was able to spy on us. I mean, that just happened 20 years ago. And now we're in a situation where more and more people are trying to censor. Now, I'm not one of the people who go like, oh, the woke culture, because let's be honest, the right wing, they like to censor. They have their fanatics that want to censor just as much. I mean, look at the Whoopi Goldberg situation, which we're gonna get into, of course. The same thing. So it's just people who, you know, feel they're right and don't want to hear anything from the other side, don't want to engage in conversation, just feel like you should just shut them down, regardless of what side of the political spectrum you stand on. So I understand where Neil Young's coming from. I don't think he has any malicious intent with this, but I just think he's misinformed, and I think he's wrong. And you shouldn't want to cancel somebody. You should just, if anything, why don't you support people who are spreading actual correct information? And Spotify's not getting rid of Joe Rogan. You know how much money they had to pay him? And Joe Rogan, he's the biggest name in podcasts. And Spotify has really grown into the podcast industry in a big way. They're not dropping him and losing all that, you know, losing those people. Some people came just for Joe Rogan. He's culminated a pretty loyal and huge fan base. So that's not going to happen. I think, if anything, why don't you go on there? Why don't you contact Joe Rogan and say, hey, look, I got some people who have an alternate take on it. They have some facts, and they have other places you can look at for facts. Because I think that some of your guests are leading you astray, misinforming you. And one of the things I do like about Joe Rogan, he came out and he talked, and he said, like, you know, maybe I should have guests with differences of opinion and try to balance it out more. And even he was like, yeah, we can put some disclaimers on there. So yeah, he does try. He is trying. He at least he's willing to, you know, try to work things out and try to make everybody feel comfortable. He's not a grifter, just wanting to spread misinformation. He has no ego about it. Like I said, he's fine with saying when he's wrong. So I'm fine with that. My only problem with Joe Rogan with this is he does kind of, like I said, he did kind of tend to go for the same people, spreading the same misinformation. And even when he was called out on it and he'll admit, okay, that was wrong, he never goes and questions the whole thing. He stays within that same, place where he gets his information. Like he's like in this wall, this bubble of information with all these, I guess, grifter sites that are just trying to downplay the seriousness of COVID. Now, whatever you feel about it, either way, that's your opinion, that's fine. I'm not even going to go into detail about that. I think one of my biggest issues with Joe Rogan with this was, so his initial response to the COVID video was, he came out and, like he said, okay, I will try to make things better. But one of the things he said that I just could not agree with, he was like, well, you know, you guys are saying this misinformation is wrong, but, and then he starts listing things that people used to think were wrong or misinformation that end up not being true. Now, some of those things were right, like not wearing masks. But then he says, like, if people would have said cloth masks weren't any good back then, that would have been a problem, but now it's fine. And my response to that is like, no, there was actual articles back then that saying cloth masks don't work and not as effective. They probably keep the bacteria on it longer and they can get through. Like this was said, I remember this being said. I just kept wearing cloth masks because it's like, whatever. The mask is not to protect you anyway. The the mask we had weren't protective anyway. It was just about keeping other people from getting sick. And then he also said, what else he said? He said he was talking about how they were saying if you got the COVID shot, people were like, if you said you could still get COVID even getting the vaccine, people would have called you crazy. You got canceled for that. I'm like, no, I think everybody always knew that you could still get it. And I've heard this from other people too. I don't understand where people got this notion that people were saying once you get the COVID shot, once you get the vaccine, you're not going to get COVID. That was never what it was. We have flu shots. We know how this works. You can still get the flu from a flu shot. The idea of it is it lessens its ability to spread and it lessens the effect that it has on you. Which was the point. Which was the same thing was the point with the lockdown. Lockdown wasn't to get rid of COVID. It was to stop it or not stop it, but decrease the amount of people getting infected to add some, to give some assistance to the hospital workers because the hospitals were being overflooded with people sick and they couldn't even help people with other diseases because so many people with COVID were coming in. That was the point of the lockdown to try to slow down the spread of this disease while we're working on it. I think so many people are now like, none of these things stop COVID. We're never supposed to 100% stop it. What it's supposed to do is decrease it and monitor it at a pace where it can be dealt with at a better rate. So nobody was lying. If people were saying that, it's the people that are trying to make you not want it and be like, they think it's gonna stop. It's supposed to stop COVID. And no, nobody who's like an honest person was saying taking a vaccine will mean you will never get COVID. That just was not a thing. But even with all that said, I still do not agree with this thing of artists saying I'm gonna take my music off because there are bad people all over. Not just about COVID or whatever. Like there are bad people all over that do a lot of bad things. And COVID or saying words, there are people who hurt other people or who commit rapes or murders or all these. There's people who do bad things that are on all forms of media. So you would, I guess, essentially have to take yourself off of all forms of media if you want to live by this moral code. I think it's ridiculous. I think if anything, you just combat that misinformation or you combat somebody saying something you don't agree with your own opinion. That's how it works. That's how it should work. Not trying to force people to stop messing with them. I'm going to take my stuff down, And I think when NDIRE did that, I'm like, first of all, nobody cared. No, nobody cared. I don't know about Neil Young either, so I'm saying. But these artists, it's like these artists, they're like, all right. And who knows, maybe Neil Young got an audience like that. Maybe he's got maybe my dang, man, Neil Young, he be moving numbers. I don't know. I didn't even know the man until he said honestly, I didn't know the man until he came out and said he's moving his stuff from Spotify because of Rogan. NDIRE, I ain't heard nobody, I'm in the black community. I ain't heard nobody talk about NDIRE since she's not her hair. Since she was not her hair. You know what I'm saying? Not her skin, she's soul live within. But she came out and said she's gonna remove her music, or maybe she's already done it. Again, I don't know. I don't check her music. But from Spotify because of Joe Rogan too. And one of her reasons was the COVID situation. The other reason was the bigger news about Joe Rogan. There was a clip, or it was a video of multiple clips of Joe Rogan using the N-word, actually saying it multiple different times, different situations, either from telling stories or making jokes, but he was saying it, and it looked bad, and it was bad, because you should not say it. So Joe Rogan, of course, came out, and he apologized for it, and said that he never thought that, he thought that he could say it as long as he wasn't saying it towards anybody. He was just using it, like just saying a sentence, not really being in a derogatory way towards any individual person or persons. And I do hear that a lot of times from white people. And I'm even going to accept his apology. I'll tell you why I accept his apology. Because I do believe him. I believe that he didn't mean any malicious intent. Joe Rogan's a comedian. Joe Rogan, he likes to talk and tell stories. Of course he likes to talk. He has the most popular podcast in the world. And so I believe that, he recorded these things. He was recording them. So of course he's recording and talking about it. He's not doing it in secret. We didn't catch him like in his house doing it, like talking to some friends. Somebody found him and released the video. These were stories. These were things that were up. He was having a conversation. So I do believe that he didn't think that it was like that. But I also see a lot of people like getting really mad at him and like, oh, we don't believe you. No, it's not wrong to get mad at him, but saying like, oh, we don't believe you and now yada yada yada. I do think we have to have some sense of forgiveness, understanding, and educating them. And like, if we want things to be, do we want things to be better, or do we just want to be victims forever? Because if we want things to be better, then when somebody's willing to admit they were wrong, thank you for admitting you're wrong, and let's see if we can come together. You use your platform, we can have a conversation about this and maybe educate other people. I think that's the way to go about it instead of just dismissing him. I do believe that Joe Rogan is 100% sorry for using the N-word. That being said, he definitely had some crazy lines in there about the Planet of the Apes, and I can't remember, he said some other stuff in there. It was like, that's just wrong. It's not even like, how could you even use that in that context, knowing that word and that history and what that means to, like I said, the history, what that means to, black people. Because I think there's something there that, he needs to look within himself, maybe a family member or something that he didn't know he had. But I do think there's something there, because once you start making those type of jokes, bro, you got to suffer the consequences of that. Because now it's not just you repeating a song lyric, or you just saying, hey, such and such said said that word. It's like you're like, oh yeah, we were high, we went to go see the Planet of the Apes, we walked up in the hood, and of course, let me finish. He said we walked up in the hood and it was like we were in the Planet of the Apes. It was scary. Of course, he said it was a good time experience, and they don't give you the full context of the story. But even like, Jesus, man, don't you got an editing team? Your people doing your file, bro. Cut that out. Oh, I should have said that. Wait a minute. That's one of them times you be like, bro, hold up. Let's start that over. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully this will make him more aware. Maybe he can bring, like I said, some people on the show that can educate him and some of his viewers on why it's not right to say that, and give some context to, why some people are upset about that word. I will leave him with this, though. Again, Joe Rogan is independent media. Joe Rogan is growing a lot of power and influence, and the establishment does not like that because he doesn't play ball, and he's willing to criticize both the right and the left as far as Democrats and Republicans and Democrats. He's willing to criticize both of the mainstream, the leaders and the media, and I do see this attempt to silence him and get rid of him, and even though I hate this word, cancel him, so that he doesn't have that influence, because he does bring a lot of unknown people on his podcast with a message, with a voice. He does rally against the establishment, and he is genuinely interested in getting the truth, even though I think he looks in the wrong place sometimes. And I think that the mainstream media is scared of that. When Bernie Sanders went on his podcast to talk, that was a blow. And how big it became, and how many people got Bernie's message that a lot of times are misinformed of what he actually believes in, and he's just this crazy guy that wants to just give money to everybody. No, he's a smart guy who has a plan. And I think that kind of rubbed people the wrong way, because you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to come to the real news, right? The quote-unquote real news, the corporate news, with the corporate agenda, with the corporate sponsors, with the corporate money. And I can criticize him for using the word and say that's not cool, and hope that he changes his ways and learns from this. But I can also acknowledge that this is definitely a hit against Joe Rogan because of the power he wields and how he's not willing to bend the knee for the powerful and the corrupt. Somebody else who seems is in some hot water for sharing their opinions, or not seems, is in hot water, is Whoopi Goldberg. She's been suspended from The View after saying that the Holocaust was not about race, but in fact was about, well, in her opinion, was about, human beings being cruel to other human beings. Her reason for this was that the German people and the Jewish people were both white. They were the same race. I think she was just a little bit misunderstood on Jewish people are considered a race and a religion. And German, I get what you're saying, because honestly, we do say it. We all look at like white people just white people. You're from different places. You're from France, or Germany or Spain or Europe or I mean not Europe, that's the whole thing, England or things like that. You're Irish, but we tend to look at you. You're a white guy. What's your nationality? I think it's more so what we ask from white people. But when we look at the skin color, we're like, you're black, you're white, you're Asian, you're Indian. Like you have different skin colors. You look at people, that they're different things. So I get where she was coming from with that, and I also get she was saying that it was even bigger than race. It's about like how cruel mankind is. I don't think she had any malicious intent with it, but it came off really sounding dumb. I'm sorry, I did. It came out sounding really dumb. I know everybody likes to act like the view of these like deep thinking women, but they kind of pushed them out there with like these stories that they don't have like a lot of prep time. It was like, look, this is the story of the day. Now what's up? And so a lot of times, yeah, you get a lot of blunders like that, and a lot of opinions that aren't as educated, maybe not even thought out enough to form like an honest opinion. It's like we may be seeing them in real time going through an idea and trying to express that. And I feel bad for Whoopi because, again, I don't think that she would say that she wasn't denying the Holocaust. She's not anti-Semitic. That word, you talk about people saying racist, anti-Semitic gets thrown around like you can say anything. And it just so happens, if the person is Jewish, then you're anti-Semitic. It's crazy how that is. But I do think that she probably should have ran that by a couple people first before she went on air saying that. And maybe she did. Maybe she had her team and they thought it sounded good, but the rest of the world sure didn't. And she, has been suspended. She's off the air for a while. I think it was like 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't watch The View anyway. But I'm seeing a lot of bad faith actors just pounce on this and complain about it. It's like ready to kill her. And wasn't the whole point, the original point of the story was, and she was defending is that she was defending the author, but the original point of the story was they were trying to get rid of a book talking about the Holocaust. Because the right wing are banning all these books talk about cancel culture, banning all these books talking about like bad things in history. I think it was like a school that was trying to ban a book or had banned a book talking about the Holocaust, and she was in defense of it and trying to argue in defense of it, and then she said that. But she was in defense of letting the book stand, and I hear so many people are going at her. Whoopi Goldberg, she's racist, whatever, or not. She's anti-Semitic, but none of them are criticizing the school or the people at the school for trying to ban that book. So it's like you really don't care about that. You just want to get at the liberal lady you don't like. And you're just trying to use any excuse, but you're not even talking about the topic of nobody knows why she was talking about that. That's how crazy it is. You don't even know why she was talking about that. She was saying it was wrong for them to try to ban this book, and they start, going into different details and to get a different conversation about it. But that was the basis of it. They don't want you to ban books talking about the Holocaust. Just like we don't want you to ban books or ban education on slavery and racism in America and segregation, So but they don't want to touch on that because then it makes them look like hypocrites. Because what? So they only look at that part, and it's so funny how many people, like Fox News had Holocaust survivors like, my family died. Like, she believes that happened. She's not saying that did happen. Like, I'm sorry, man, I feel bad, I really do. But Whoopi was not saying that the Holocaust didn't happen. She just misspoke and was wrong about saying it wasn't about race. It was about race, and it was about humanity. People being mean to humans. It's about homophobia. It was about a lot of different things. I hate how people, as soon as they find it in, because they already don't like somebody, they want to go at them, and they don't even want to even look at the whole topic, look at the whole conversation, and be honest about what the conversation was about anyway. And be honest about how the person was, because no, of course not. She's not anti-Semitic. But of course, when you say something stupid, you should be called out for it. I'm not mad about her being called out. I'm not really a fan of Whoopi Goldberg and The View. I think a lot of times they just share the same opinions of the establishment. They have gotten better when they get more information. They are more critical of the establishment Democrats. But I think a lot of times, they are victims of misinformation, so their views come off of that. a lot, for a lot of their opinions or a lot of their talking points on policies or different politicians or just opinions on social issues. But I don't think that she had any malicious intent towards the Jewish community. I don't think that at all. I think she's anti-Semitic. I think she just misspoke and said something dumb, as we all tend to do, even myself, guilty as charged from time to time. And she's apologized for it. She's not trying to fight and say no, I was right. And I just hope that we can let this go, move forward, and learn. And I believe that is the show for the day. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, get a little bit of this whack wisdom, that good old whack wisdom, and hope that you return for the next episode to get a little bit more from me, please, and thank you. This is the WACCast podcast, and I am whacking off.
It's the WACCast podcast. Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack to me.
Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack
It's
to me.
the WACCast podcast. Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack to me.
Yeah.
Talk whack to me. Talk whack to me.